Hello, in this brief video we're going to take a look at Mintel. There's a separate video from Columbia College Library that does an overview of Mintel. Today I'd like to look at Mintel from the perspective of doing demographic related research. You can get to Mintel often through a link from a research guide provided to you by a faculty member or a librarian. There may be a link to a research guide for your class in your Canvas page. But you can also come to the databases list and select Mintel from our databases. So we'll go to the M's and select Mintel. You may be asked to authenticate if you're coming in from off campus. It should be fairly straightforward. You just use Columbia College credentials. The login page will make it clear which credentials you need to use. Again, there's another training video on the overview of Mintel. You can search by keywords, you could search by a product or service, or even a demographic group with keywords here. What I'm going to recommend today is that we take a look by narrowing down the content according to the demographic groups. So I'm going to select some demographic groups here. And then the content that comes up will in some way be relevant to these groups. The second thing I recommend doing is skipping over the observations for now. Observations are small, concrete examples from various places in the world. But I think the more useful material right now will be consumer trends and reports. So let's talk about how to use each of these in relation to a generation or a demographic group. So as a review, these are trends related to our demographic groups. If we open one of these trends, we get to the meat of what Mintel does in terms of the trends research. Just as a review, you get a buzz score. Is this really loud or really quiet in the culture so far? And a life cycle score. Is it just emerging? Has it mainstreamed? Is it declining? The main thing to remember is to click the Expand tab. This is really important because the story of the trend, along with the basic statistics, exists under this tab. So in a few short paragraphs, you really get a description of why this trend is important for consumers of all types across the culture. So I say this too. Even if you don't find as much as you want about your particular one demographic group, I recommend that you read trends that you believe have relevance to your group and draw the ties, because these trends are broad and influential in all areas of consumer life. You'll get key action items that a company can take or brand can take to respond to this trend. You'll get statistics you can browse through. You can click to the original sources. You can look at a global heat map. And here you can look at how this trend applies to particular segments of industry, or you can choose demographic on this tab right here, and then look through the different demographic groups to see how they're affected by this trend. You won't have every group, Generation X, Generation Y, but you can choose teens, singles, millennials, etc. So here's a paragraph describing some implications of this trend for teen consumers. You can explore connections with other trends, other groups, implications, etc. We'll go back to our search results, and now I'm going to switch. I'm going to deselect trends, and I'm going to look at reports. Now I also recommend, after you've looked at trends and reports, that you take a look at expert insights as well, and then maybe the observations. So let's look at the reports. And here's where you start to get some cross sections between a particular generational group or demographic and a product or service or industry. So let's look at Generation Z Beauty Consumer Report. This will open, and there's a lot of content here. You can divide it up into the contents. So here is content related to consumers. I can show you an example of a report that I downloaded as a PowerPoint file. So this content is all directly from opening one of those reports in the format of PowerPoint. So you can see how much information there is and how easy it is to use that information. This makes it really tempting to share, which is fine in an academic context. Just be sure to give proper credit to the source of the report. So that would include not just that it came from Mintel, but you would want to credit the author, just like you would with citing, say, an article or something like that. So that is an overview of using Mintel to do demographic-related research. As always, you can get assistance on most pages of the library. There's a link to live chat when it's available, and email, and librarians are always happy to help. Thank you.